Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 5. Oh, sorry, the last time I forgot to record it. So this is a second take. But this is different types of entrepreneurship. We're looking at intrapreneurship. We have social entrepreneurship, indigenous entrepreneurship, community-based enterprises and community-based entrepreneurship, family businesses, as well as we're going to read and watch and listen and reflect. What is entrepreneurship?
As you may have noticed over the last 2 modules, there has been a fair amount of discussion and debate around the scope of what an entrepreneur does and who they are and how entrepreneurship can impact the world in which we live. Are entrepreneurs exclusively those who start a business? Or are they creative thinkers and doers? While the term entrepreneurship may have originally been used in reference to those trying to launch a product or service on Dragon's Den, in the 21st century it is considerably broader. Intrapreneurship. According to Martariana, the recognition of intrapreneurial activities has widened the notion of entrepreneurship by incorporating entrepreneurial activities undertaken within established organizations to the usual view of entrepreneurship as new independent business creation. Intrapreneurship, then, is a form of entrepreneurship that occurs within an existing organization, but intrapreneurs are generally considered to be significantly more risk-averse than entrepreneurs, earn lower incomes, perceive fewer business opportunities in the short term, and do not consider that they have enough skills to succeed in setting up a business.
Okay, what would be an example of entrepreneurship? Good job. A group that runs an agile project management team to make continuous improvements.
Webster defines intrapreneur as a corporate executive who develops new enterprises within a corporation. However, some might consider some employees who are not corporate executives to also be intrapreneurs if they demonstrate entrepreneurial behavior within the company that they work for.
You have to be an executive to be entrepreneur. That's right. You can have other people do that position if you don't want to. It depends how big your company is.
An example of an intrapreneur could be an employee or a director in an organization that sees a problem within that organization and knows that a change needs to happen. And then what they do is define the rationale and create the opportunity for that change to happen and see it through.
Right. Next one. Entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship.
Social entrepreneurship involves employing the principles of entrepreneurship to create organizations that address social issues.
What would be an example of a social enterprise? Kava or Tom's or Ben & Jerry's, all the above.
Martin and Osberg defined the social entrepreneur as an individual who targets an unfortunate but stable equilibrium that causes neglect, marginalization, or suffering of a segment of humanity, who brings to bear on this situation their inspiration, direct action, creativity, courage, and fortitude, and who aims for and ultimately affects the establishment of a new stable equilibrium that secures a permanent benefit for the targeted group and society at large. Martin and Osberg's definition encompasses for-profit and non-for-profit organizations created by these entrepreneurs, and also some government initiatives. But it excludes entities that exist solely to provide social services for groups formed to engage in social activism. An idealized definition of social entrepreneurship developed by Dees is informative in that it supports this definition while complementing it with a set of criteria against which organizations can be assessed to determine whether they are socially entrepreneurial.
Okay, what are some of the criteria you can use? Employees are well treated, creates positive change, and enhances the livelihood of marginalized groups. Yes, donating to charity is really important, but that doesn't help the actual way employees are being treated. Financially self-sufficient is really important, but most importantly, it's how your employees are treated, if it's a positive place to work, and it enhances livelihood for marginalized groups, so you're helping others.
Social entrepreneurs use their skills not only to create profitable business ventures, but also to achieve social and environmental goals for a common good. They are people who start businesses so that they can create innovative solutions to society's most vexing problems, and they see themselves as change agents for society. A great example of social entrepreneurship are several organizations that fall under B Corp status. B Corp status are organizations that exist to not only generate profit, but to also have a positive impact on the world around them. Have a look at B Corp organizations to find out more.
Thank you. So Martin Osberg defines social entrepreneurship as individuals who target fortunate but stable equilibrium that causes neglect, marginalization, and suffering of a segment of humanity, who bring to bear this situation his or her inspiration, direct action, creativity, courage, fortitude, or those who aims for or ultimately affects the establishment of the new stable equilibrium that secures permanent benefit for the targeted group or society at large. So, whatever your business is that you're doing, is it helping others? Is it filling in the gap? Are you opening up maybe a grocery store in an area where there's no stores? So you're helping the community, especially those that don't have a car, to get healthy options. So what are you doing? And now we have indigenous entrepreneurship. There's places in the United States which is home to indigenous people. In the old days, they called them Indians, but it got pretty confusing because Indians are from India. And then we usually call them like indigenous people or Native Americans.
Swanson and Zhang described a range of perspectives on what Indigenous entrepreneurship means and what implications it holds for social and economic development for Indigenous people. Indigenous entrepreneurship might simply be entrepreneurship carried out by Indigenous people, but it can also refer to common situations where Indigenous entrepreneurs, sometimes through community-based enterprises, start businesses that are largely intended to preserve and promote their culture and values. Others expanded on that notion when they described Indigenous entrepreneurship as follows. There is rich heterogeneity amongst Indigenous peoples, and some of their cultural values are often incompatible with the basic assumptions of mainstream theories.
So heterogeneity is the quality and state of being diverse in character or content. And this is true. When you think about it, homo means self, hetero means opposite.
Indigenous entrepreneurship often has non-economic variables, and some Indigenous communities' economies display elements of egalitarianism, sharing, and communal activity. Indigenous entrepreneurship is usually environmentally sustainable. This often allows Indigenous people to rely on immediately available resources, and consequently, work in Indigenous communities is often irregular. Social organization amongst Indigenous peoples is often based on kinship ties and not necessarily created in response to market needs. Lindsay described Indigenous entrepreneurship as something even more complex. Significant cultural pressures are placed on Indigenous entrepreneurs. These pressures will manifest themselves in new venture creation and development behavior, that involve the community at a range of levels that contribute towards self-determination, while incorporating heritage. And where cultural values are an inextricable part of the very fabric of these ventures. Thus, the Indigenous team involved in new venture creation and development may involve not only the entrepreneur and the business's entrepreneurial team, but also the entrepreneur's family, extended family, and/or the community. Thus, in Indigenous businesses, there are more stakeholders involved than with non-Indigenous businesses. And for this reason, Indigenous businesses can be regarded as more complex than non-Indigenous businesses, and this complexity needs to be reflected in defining entrepreneurship from an Indigenous perspective.
Okay, which factor is unique in Indigenous entrepreneurship surprised you the most? The organization may be developed in response to the need within the community. There may be a considerable involvement from the close to the entrepreneur. The concept will reflect the values of the community, or the enterprise may not reflect a response to the market demand. The community, okay, good job. Oops. Where is that one?
Swan.
And then we have community-based entrepreneurship. So community-based entrepreneurship, we know, is either private sector or public sector, or not private, nonprofit sector. So you have private, public, and nonprofit.
Pareto and Chrisman describe community-based enterprises, or CBEs, as emerging from a process in which the community acts entrepreneurially to create and operate a new enterprise embedded in its existing social structure. CBEs emerge when a community works collaboratively to create or identify a market opportunity and organize themselves in order to respond to it. These ventures are managed and governed to pursue the economic and social goals of a community in a manner that is meant to yield sustainable individual and group benefits over the short and long term.
Local farmers market is example of a CBE. What is that? Community-based. Yes, community-based is correct. Good job.
CBEs are positioned in a sector of the economy that is not dominated by a profit motive, often because there is little profit to be made, or by the government. Modern societies are comprised of three distinct but overlapping sectors. Businesses operating in the private sector primarily strive to generate profits for their owners by providing goods and services in response to market demands. While this sector provides jobs, innovation, and overall wealth, it is not suited to addressing most social problems because there is usually no profit to be made by doing so. The public sector redistributes the money it collects in taxes and to provide public goods and to serve needs not met by the private sector. And while this sector provides defense, public safety, education, and a range of other public needs and social services, it has limited capacity to recognize and solve all social needs. The remaining sector, referred to by a variety of names including the third sector, the citizen sector, the voluntary sector, the nonprofit sector, and the plural sector, is comprised of organizations that deliver goods and services the other sectors do not provide, and are either owned by their members or not owned by any individuals at all.
Okay. Rely on community volunteers, address challenges for profit and government sectors, serve the local needs, and tend to generate both value for individuals and the community. Oops, wrong. Let's try it again. I don't know why it's not letting me redo it. Yes, serve the local needs. Okay. We also have family entrepreneurship, like maybe family-owned restaurants. I have a student in a class I have, her family owns a Thai restaurant, but she makes desserts on the side. So for a public speaking class, she made la leche cupcakes, which is like a Latino cupcake that has like milk in it. It's not too sweet at all.
Chua, Chrisman, and Steer reported that family-owned firms account for a large percentage of the economic activities in the US and Canada.
How much? Did she say 60%? No, try again. What did she say? 80%?
Besides a significant component of Canadian and other economies that are made up of family-owned businesses, these entities might be distinct from other forms of entrepreneurship. While more research is required to better understand these distinctions, family businesses might be characterized by the unique influences family members have on how their firms operate, and by the distinctive challenges they face that make them behave and perform differently than other categories of business.
It's one way in which private family business might behave differently from a traditional corporation. Retirement, no. Hiring family members.
As you can see, entrepreneurship can manifest in many forms that are well outside of starting a business or selling a product. Entrepreneurship is a way of thinking creatively and taking action to make things happen.
Okay. Good job. Okay. Here's some pictures that have to do with starting a business. Okay, here's entrepreneurship toolkit. Oops, it's not here. Huh. Okay. All right. Good ideas. I'm trying to show you my power. Good ideas. Entrepreneurship. What characterizes a good idea from a new business? Well, like I said earlier, why do people want your business? What's different about the businesses now? What are you doing that's helping society or filling in the gap? What's missing? If something's already there, then what is it that makes yours different than theirs? Creation of family new businesses, small businesses, sole partnerships, family-owned businesses, high-growth businesses, franchise ownership, innovative established businesses, and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, creation and or motivation, innovation with existing businesses, Examples of entrepreneurship companies. We have an Apple computer, need for entrepreneurship. Today we discuss entrepreneurship in the terms of the creation of the new business. Idea generation, how it all begins. Entrepreneurial progress. Idea generation, feasibility study, business plan. Idea generation, characteristics of a good entrepreneurship business idea, sources of good entrepreneurial business ideas, ideas to avoid, and group exercise. Characteristics of good entrepreneurial business ideas, sources of good entrepreneurial business ideas, ideas to avoid, group exercise. Good entrepreneurial business ideas are product driven, solve a problem, find a market need, customer focused, not product driven, targets an identified sizable market, and segment. Good entrepreneurial business ideas are feasible, attractive, there's a demand, achievable, it can be done, durable, it lasts, value creating, it's worth something, safe, affordable, good entrepreneurial business ideas are faster, better, cheaper, differentiated versus commodity. They have a special sauce. Good business ideas are fundable, revenue stream, manageable risk, sustainable market exists with frequency of purchase, scalable or reciprocable, barriers to entity, potential growth, product pipeline, exit plan, and innovative. Innovative can be radical versus incremental. So you have invention, extension, duplication, and synthesis. Good entrepreneurial business ideas are often based on intellectual property, copyrights, trademarks, patents, and trade secrets. Idea generation, characteristics of good entrepreneurial business ideas, sources of good entrepreneurial business ideas, ideas to avoid, and group exercise. Sources of good entrepreneurial ideas, talk to friends, family or other contacts, read, examine surroundings, consider your hobbies and activities, education, work experience, personal life, and network. Some sources of good entrepreneurial ideas is know the need, not the effect efficiently met. Geographic or business niches not currently served or underserved niches. Changes in market, industry, legal, political factors, and technology factors. Successful entrepreneurs recognize opportunity while it's still taking shape. Skate where the puck will be, not where it was. Idea generation. Characteristics of good entrepreneurial business ideas, sources of good entrepreneurial business ideas, ideas to avoid, group exercise, generating a good idea, avoid unfavorable industries, unfavorable markets, crusades, and the one-hit wonders and unsafe or legal products and services. AI generation, characteristics of good entrepreneurial business ideas, sources of good entrepreneurial business ideas, ideas to avoid, and group exercise. Well, go ahead and think right here. Think of a business idea. Think of everyday problem and a solution for it. Be creative. No idea was too obscure, crazy, or simple. One idea per group. It should take you 5 minutes. What I'm going to do is have you do that for your discussion. For your discussion, you're going to write 9 to 35 sentences answering a question about what type of business you like, how it fits into society, and why people need it. And this should be a product or service. We have idea generation, characteristics of good entrepreneurial business ideas, sources of good entrepreneurial business ideas, ideas to avoid. We have idea generation, feasibility study, and business plan. Okay, I'm going to show you a video. The reason I like to record it on the Zoom is because sometimes when I am doing my my Zoom. When I transferred over to the YouTube, a lot of times the YouTube says that you did copyright infringements, you did not have permission, you were not supposed to do this. So that's a serious issue. So I try not to do that because I've had a couple of my videos removed. Last semester, a couple students said that it was no longer there. A couple of times, not Facebook, but the YouTube people shortened my video. It was over an hour and a half long. Next thing you know, it's 45 minutes. I cut out 45 minutes because they said I didn't have permission to add videos. So I'm adding a video right now. So that's the reason I don't post it on the YouTube, because it's going to remove it. That's why I give you the little pass, the little code, and it's different each time because it goes with a different week video. That way you can watch it and nothing's removed. Do you guys know Tom Shoes? Okay, if you don't, it's okay. He's kind of like having some issues. It was 1-for-1. People said that, you know, it was a good idea and it was a bad idea. They were overpriced shoes, like $40 for some shoes that probably would cost like $10 if you bought them from maybe Walmart. I know there was a place called Payless back in the days, and they had shoes kind of like that for like $10-20. So this is from Business Insider. It's the rise and fall of Tom's shoes. And I've never had a pair of Toms. I did have 2 pairs of Bob's. Bob's is like Tom's, except it's for animals. So when you buy Bob's products, I bought a Bob, a little leash and collar for my cat. I bought 2 bowls and a little shirt for her. And let's just say somehow when I moved to Texas, my collar and leash got lost. And then the little t-shirt was too small, so I gave it to my neighbor who gave me her because she does the little cat rescues during COVID. And then I still have the bowl that says Bob's, but the shoes were so uncomfortable. They were like Tom shoes, thin arch. You know, they're very cute. One had cats on it, one had dogs, and it was called Bob's. It's just like Tom's. My neighbor was like, I can't believe you bought those overpriced shoes. Yeah, they were overpriced. They were like $45 each. They're just like Tom's, but for animals. Tom's says you buy a pair of shoes, he gives a pair of shoes to someone else. Same thing with Tom's glasses. You buy a pair of Tom's glasses, he donates a frame. But of course, they're very expensive. So this is the rise and fall of Tom's.
When I grow up, I want to be just like my big sister. She's on the soccer team, she volunteers at the library, and she works so hard in school. She uses iExcel, and it's really helping her learning.
That test is gonna be so hard, but I'm feeling more prepared for it every day.
I'm sure it'll be fine, even if it takes you 3 tries to pass, like your driver's test.
Hey, it wasn't 3 times.
It was actually 4. Anyway, I want to be...
Chances are you once owned a pair of these. That's because Tom's had the perfect product. Its 1-for-1 donation model made buying one of its iconic canvas shoes an act of charity. And for a while, that really worked. By 2013, Tom's was reportedly making $250 million in sales a year and had donated 10 million pairs of shoes since its launch. Just 1 year later, the company was valued at $625 million.
It was a brand that resonated with a lot of especially younger people at the time that were looking for brands that were not sort of traditional corporate kind of brands.
Entrepreneur Blake Mycoskie started the company in 2006 because he wanted to give back. Yeah, Blake, not Tom. There was never actually a Tom behind Tom's shoes. The company was originally named Shoes for Tomorrow, then Tomorrow Shoes, and then shortened to Tom's. Mycoskie, who you might recognize from season 2 of The Amazing Race, was inspired to start the shoe company after a trip to Argentina. The story goes that Mycoskie wanted to help all the kids he saw without shoes. And while he was there, a shoe design caught his eye, the Alpargata. Comfortable and affordable, the Alpargata is an everyday shoe for many Argentinians. A local shoemaker helped make an updated version for Tom's and came up with the buy one, give one model. Soon, the shoe was everywhere.
It got some publicity and just grew very rapidly. It had a huge amount of demand at the beginning. Hollywood stars started wearing the shoes, and there's all this buzz around the shoe, and it grew into what it is today.
And Tom's slip-on canvas shoes became synonymous with the brand, turning into what marketing pros call a hero product.
A hero product is a product that is the archetypal brand, all right, for a company, the one that's the most successful that people think of when you think of the company. So, for example, like Nike, it could be Air Jordans. For Porsche, it might be the 911.
It's like how when you see Hermes, you think of the Birkin bag, or associate Heinz with ketchup. For Tom's, it was the original shoe, based on the Alpargata. And paired with its charitable giving model, Tom's seemed unstoppable.
Tom's branding and marketing was very effective because it was one of the first companies that used this buy one, give one kind of philosophy to try to appeal to not only consumers that like good-looking shoes, but also were interested in companies that had some kind of corporate social responsibility angle.
People saw its logo and immediately thought of its shoes and its charity work for kids, which could explain why people were willing to spend anywhere from $48 to $78 on a pair of Tom's canvas shoes. But it turns out having a hero product can backfire.
The hero product for Tom's shoes is the Alpargata variant or model of the shoes, and they relied on that one model too long. The hero product can become stale at some point if it's not rejuvenated.
Not to mention, Tom's slip-on shoe design was easy to copy, so competitors did. And they sold them for much cheaper. Skechers even named its version Bob's and donated 2 pairs of shoes for every pair sold. All this made consumers question whether Tom's was even worth the price. So just as quickly as it had become a staple, Tom's became a fad. Even though Tom's had expanded its product line, people just couldn't see beyond its original canvas shoe. And while Tom's shoe donation program had been innovative and interesting when it launched, it became almost mainstream, copied by so many other brands. People also started questioning whether Tom's shoe donations were actually helping anyone. Tom's had contacted an outside research team about looking into something back in 2010. The research team found that the program actually wasn't that significant.
Tom's was really quick to take the results of the study into consideration, so that they talked to us about giving away the shoes as a reward for school attendance, so kids actually feel like they earn them, and they began to develop more alternative kinds of shoes that would last longer.
And Tom's continued to grow its giving program to be more effective. In 2011, Tom's expanded its brand to include sunglasses. Sales from sunglasses went directly to people in developing countries for treatments like cataract surgery.
You know, as a person who has pretty high prescription glasses, I can attest to the fact that personally, like a lot of people, that this is a really impactful intervention for many people. Cataract surgery can restore a life.
In 2014, Tom started Tom's Roasting Company and said it would donate a week's worth of clean water for every bag of coffee it sold. The next year, Tom's teamed up with anti-bullying organizations with a line of backpacks. But despite all these changes, when most people saw Tom's, they only thought of its original product and program. So Tom's had a hard time growing beyond its hero product, and its sales struggled. The company had a harder time regaining control over its business because it had relied so much on wholesale when it first started out. Doing this had helped Tom's build its brand recognition even faster because its shoes were sold at big department stores like Macy's and Bloomingdale's and even at Whole Foods. But a direct-to-consumer model has a lot of long-term advantages. You have more control over your marketing and inventory, and most importantly, over prices. All this can help you control your profit margins, something that's kind of important when your sales are starting to slump. But instead, Tom's didn't pivot its business model as quickly or strongly as it should have, and its outlook continued to decline in 2019. Tom's had a $300 million loan due in 2020, and credit rating agencies expected it wouldn't be able to pay up. So, is this the end for Tom's?
Welcome to Education.com, your home for expertly crafted resources to help your learners succeed. As a premium member, you'll enjoy access to exclusive features that enable a more immersive learning experience.
Well, in late 2019, a group of Tom's creditors officially took over the company from Bain Capital and Blake Mycoskie in exchange for debt relief. When Business Insider reached out to Tom's, a representative said that, quote, the new owners support Tom's future growth and are investing $35 million into the company, unquote. So Tom's is definitely looking to rebuild itself. But is there a place for it?
Tom's biggest obstacle right now is just the fact that there is so much competition in the shoe business, and some brands have in fact gone bankrupt. I mean, if you look at brands like Rockport, right, which is a well-known brand, take a look at Payless Shoes, which is a retailer. There's just a lot of competition in this market, and very difficult to make a sustainable business.
So what should Tom's do?
I think the smartest strategy for Tom's right now actually is to focus less on the corporate social responsibility angle and focus more on product. I think they need to develop more product varieties, styles, colors that consumers want to buy, and I think that's the area they should focus on.
Another thing Tom's needs to work on is its brand experience.
A lot of successful brands that started as direct-to-consumer, like Warby Parker, like a Casper, like others, Bonobos, for example, started only direct-to-consumer, went to retail, gave their customers a chance to, again, experience the brand. And today, brand experience is extremely important for consumers to have a strong affinity to the brand. I think Tom's has to do more of that.
But even if Tom's isn't able to recreate its original success, it still made a lasting impact in the worlds of business and fashion. Brands having a social mission might be commonplace today, but Tom's was the one that made it mainstream. And despite everything, Tom's might still be the best at it.
I'd say Tom's is one of the most nimble organizations that I've worked with as a development economist. They have a whole department that's devoted to impact evaluation.
In November 2019, Tom's announced that it would be evolving its one-for-one giving model. Tom's will now be donating $1 for every $3 it makes. According to the company, this creates a more flexible and sustainable way of giving.
So I think Tom's is a learning organization, and when it comes to development and poverty interventions, trust me, we're all learning, and that's the key.
So who knows? With the right product, Tom's could be the next big thing again.
Empower your students to be more authentic, impactful writers with Grammarly's
That's true. Like I said, I bought 2 pairs of Bobs. Bobs with the dogs and Bobs with the cats. Okay. So, let's see. Okay, so that's kind of a neutral perspective. I'm going to go ahead and show you the Adam Runs Everything on Tom's. And then that'll be it for today. Okay. So that's it for today. Well, I'll see y'all next time. Okay, and don't forget your homework today. Where is it? Oops, classwork. Discussion. Please choose a type of business and why and how the business, product, or service is needed. How would you market your product and service in a competitive environment? 3 to 5 paragraphs, please. It would be 9 to 35 sentences in length. Have a blessed day and see you next week. Be safe, be happy, and be healthy.